Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on The Winter's Tale and we get to hear from shocker of shockers, Leontes, again today in Act 2, Scene 3. But we're going to finish up Act 2, Scene 3 today. So in this scene, we had Paulina coming in with the baby who was born premature in jail to show it to Leontes in the hopes that Leontes would see it and fall in love with it because it's his kid, and that he would forget all of this nonsense about Hermione potentially cheating on him with Polixenes, which she didn't do. But that didn't exactly happen. Leontes didn't even really talk to Paulina. She was like all kinds of getting up in his face, and he was turning to Antigonus saying, you should be able to control your wife, and Antigonus is like, meh, and Paulina's like, you're being a bad husband, and guess what, I'm going to withhold, all of that sort of thing, until Paulina left the baby in the room with Leontes, saying, spend some time and get to know it, and also all of you who are just bowing to his every whim are not doing him any good. So she left, and then Leontes starts laying into Antigonus, saying that Antigonus like put Paulina up to this, that it's all his fault and that sort of thing. And Antigonus is like, no, I had nothing to do with it. And the other lords that are there vouch for Antigonus and say, no, he didn't do it. And it gets to the point where Antigonus is like, please don't kill the baby, because in all of this, Leontes is like, take this baby out of here and burn it. And Antigonus is like, don't kill the baby, don't kill the baby. And Leontes is like, so what would you do to have me not kill the baby? And Antigonus is like, I would do anything. Like, you name it, it's yours. Just don't kill the baby. And Leontes is like, okay, so you'll swear on my sword that you'll do whatever I charge you with? And Antigonus says, yes. And Leontes says, mark and perform it, seest thou? For the fail of any point in it shall not only be death to thyself, but to thy lewd-tongued wife, whom for this time we pardon. We enjoin thee, as thou art liegeman to us, that thou carry this female bastard hence, and that thou bear it to some remote and desert place, quite out of our dominions, and that there thou leave it, without more mercy, to its own protection and favor of the climate. As by strange fortune it came to us, I do in justice charge thee on thy soul's peril and thy body's torture, that thou commend it strangely to some place where chance may nurse or end it. Take it up. So, now that Antigonus has agreed to do whatever Leontes says, okay, if you don't do this, I'm going to kill you and your wife. So just so you know. And what I'm telling you to do is to take this baby and dump it somewhere in the wilderness and leave it to its own protection. Leave it to its own devices. Like, don't give this baby anything. Not that the baby could really use much, because at this point the baby is maybe like 2 or 3 days old, if that. Probably not even that. This baby might have just been born like earlier today. But so like, you can't leave this baby with a pocket knife and a tarp and hope that it survives. But that's basically what he says, is don't even give the baby a pocket knife and a tarp. Just dump the baby somewhere far away from here in the woods, leave it to its own devices, and we'll see what happens with it. Because then it's like, theoretically, something could take care of the baby, but chances are it's going to die in the wilderness. So Leontes is likely going to get what he wants, but he's not giving a direct order to take the baby outside and burn it. And Antigonus is like, oh, okay. So he picks up the baby, and as he's walking out with it, he's like, please, please, please be adopted by a pack of wolves or something. I've heard sometimes bears will take care of little babies. Please let that happen here. So that's what he's like wishing for as he takes the baby and leaves. And Leontes is like, okay, good, that's settled. And he almost seems to feel a smidge better not having the baby there anymore. But then a couple other like lords or messengers come in, and they're like, hey, remember Cleomenes and Dion, who you had sent to the Oracle at Delphi to find out from the Oracle whether or not Hermione was cheating. They've come back, and he's like, oh good, they've been gone for like 23 days, so they made really good time. Let's arrange a trial, because the same as my wife was accused, she will get to have a trial to prove or disprove her innocence in this case. And yeah, let's make that happen. And that's the end of Act 2, Scene 3. So we have everybody in Cecilia except for Leontes rooting for Hermione and for this baby. We have Leontes totally off the deep end, where he wants to murder his own child. We have Mamilius, who's also sick, which Leontes thinks is because he feels bad about his mom's guilt, which his mom is not guilty. We have Hermione in prison, but we have word coming from the Oracle as to whether or not she's actually guilty of these crimes that Leontes accuses her of. She's not. But the Oracle will tell us in this trial that this poor woman who had to give birth in prison now has to stand trial for, yeah, in like modern terms, she's still on maternity leave, and now she has to go on trial. Anyway, that's the end of Act 2, Scene 3. Tomorrow we're going to hear, I believe we get to hear from Hermione in Act 3, Scene 2. So be prepared. There's going to be some catch-up that happens tomorrow. And I will see you for that. Mwah.